So during the last episode, we talked about the actual harmonic egg itself, the dimensions, and I promised that this new episode we would actually talk about remote sessions. So this is what a remote session looks like. There's your photo inside the harmonic egg. And there's a element of your energy signature in your photo, and that's what's allowing this to work. And we'll talk about that in a bit more detail right after I show you guys this. So this is what it looks like. And your picture's here in the egg. Now on the back of that picture is her maiden name and her birth date and her intention. And this lovely young lady right here just so happens to be my mother. And she does a remote session every single week. She also has a YouTube channel, so I'll put a link to her YouTube channel on here as well. She has some words of wisdom to share with you all. But as you can hear the sound in the background, that's one of the Harmonic Egg tracks, Peace, Protection, and Freedom. And this is what a remote session looks like. And I'll talk about this in some more detail in just a few seconds. So we're going to fade back to me, but I just wanted to give you guys a quick look at what a session looked like before we actually close up the door. And your photo is in here for 50 minutes, just like it would be if you were here in person. All right? Hello and welcome to another episode of the Chromosomatics podcast. Good to be back. I took a little hiatus. I spent a little extra time over the holiday break, spending some time with my daughter. She was home from school in Boston and got a chance to meet her boyfriend. He flew in from London. So we spent some time to show him around Baltimore, and he really liked it. Really nice kid, really nice guy. So daddy approved. I like that guy. I really like him. Up and coming cinematographer, really nice kid. So they just flew back to Boston, back to college. So I had to spend some time with her because I didn't get to see her much during the Thanksgiving break. So today we're talking about remote sessions. So we talked about the harmonic egg last time. So now we're talking about remote sessions. So you saw a little bit of footage of what a remote session actually looks like in terms of the picture being inside the egg and everything. So I wanted to get into a little bit about how the remote sessions work and some of the reasons why people choose remote sessions when it comes to the harmonic egg. So as you can see, we put the picture in the egg, right? And we write your maiden name, your birth name, and your birth date, and a intention that we write on the back of the picture before we put it in the egg. And we place that in the egg just like we would your actual body. And you're in there for 50 minutes, just like you would be in person. But the light and the sound and the sacred geometry of the shape is acting on the energy that resides in your picture. There's a certain amount of your energy signature that's in your photo. That's why we use a photo. And for some people, it's like a form of entanglement, quantum entanglement, because your energy is in that photo. This is why a lot of ancient cultures, they wouldn't let you take their pictures because they knew there was an element of their energy signature in their photo and that you can manipulate that. They understood that. So that's why they never liked photos, because they knew that was a energy signature. So that's kind of the principle of what's happening there inside the harmonic egg. Your energy is in that photo, and the egg is acting on that energetic field signature as well as the sound and the light. A lot of people, including myself, I really didn't buy that initially. But when I got into an egg in South Carolina and I felt certain sensations on the left side of my face, and then I came back home to Maryland and I did 2 remote sessions and I felt that same sensation, even with all kinds of noise and racket going on around me with my neighbors building things and stuff like that. It didn't matter. My picture was actually receiving that energy. And since that's connected to me energetically, I was feeling it. And, I have clients that they'll get in the egg in person, and they're so used to doing it in person, they don't really think that a remote session will work, just like I was. I even had one client who would actually go and buy the music from the Harmonic Egg, and she would listen to that in between sessions, which is something we encourage people to do. In fact, you can go to harmonicegg.com and go to the store. You can buy a lot of the tracks that we use in the egg. The reason why Gail sells those tracks is so that you can anchor in that experience in between sessions. So I had a client who would do that. So she would listen to these songs in between sessions on her stereo or her phone. And when I told her about, trying a remote session, I think one time she couldn't get in for some reason. She was just so bad she couldn't drive. And I said, well, let's try a remote session. She's like, well, I listen to those tracks all the time. And I like listening to them, but it's not the same as being in the egg. Well, I said, well, let's just try it. And we used one of those tracks, and we put her picture in that egg. And after the session, she sent me back this animated GIF. If I can find it, I'll edit it in. If you remember the old Maxell commercial where a guy's sitting in a chair and he has a scarf on and glasses, and the speakers are blowing the scarf back, because the sound is so realistic. She sent me that. She was like, that blew me away. She was like, it's completely night and day from listening to the track, just listening to it, as opposed to actually having my picture in the egg as the track is playing. Blew her away. And from then on, she started doing remote sessions more frequently than she actually came in, because she lived kind of far away. And so that's one of the reasons why people do the remote sessions, is because sometimes they just can't travel. They may be so sick and they need the egg and they can't travel to me. Another reason is people they'll come out of the egg in such a blissful state. Right? The last thing they want to do is to go and get back in traffic and drive home. It just kills the buzz for them. So once they discover the remote sessions, they're like, I can lay in my bed, I can sit in my favorite chair, and I can actually have this session. And then right after, I can just drift off to sleep. A lot of times people will drift off to sleep during the session and just continue to sleep after the session's over. After every session, I send a text message and I say, the session has concluded. How are you? And some people, I don't hear back from them until the next day, because they're knocked out, and they'll just stay asleep for the rest of the night or whatever, depending on when the session happened. I'll hear from them the next day or even hours later, because they're so relaxed and they can continue to stay in that relaxed state. And that's what we want. With the egg, we want to get you out of a fight or flight into a rest and digest state. And they're in that rest and digest state, and they can stay in that state while they're home. They don't have to worry about commuting back to where they came from, going through traffic and construction on the highway and all that kind of stuff. Another reason people use it is for folks who are claustrophobic. So I had one client, she would come from work, and she lived in, she worked in Wilmington, lived in Wilmington, Delaware. She used to drive all the way down here through traffic after work. And then on top of that, once she got here, she's claustrophobic. So I had to leave the egg open. Sometimes she could take it fully closed. Sometimes it had to be fully open, and everything in between. It all depends on how she felt that day. That's just how variable her claustrophobia was. Some days it was bad. Some days it wasn't so bad. I convinced her to do a remote session, and she probably did 6 remote sessions after that. I saw her one more time for an in-person, and she went back to remote. And it's because when she's home, she's in her favorite chair. She doesn't have to think about claustrophobia. That anxiety is gone. So every time she did an in-person session, she had this underlying anxiety of claustrophobia, which is completely eliminated when she's home. She's in her favorite chair. She feels safe. She feels secure. And she can have a better session. And she always said her remote sessions were better than the ones that she did in the egg because of the claustrophobia that she had. So that's another reason. Another reason is I have clients who don't even live anywhere near an egg. I have a weekly client who's in Panama. He's in Panama. There are eggs in Panama. He's never been in an egg, ever. And he feels it every time. He does it every Friday. He's in Panama. I have clients in India, clients in Colombia, South America, clients all over the United States. I have clients right here in Maryland who only do remotes because they don't want to have to deal with traffic. So, there's several reasons for that. The interesting thing with remotes, though, and it's just something I can't explain. Even quantum entanglement, I don't think really explains this, but this is something that's been happening a lot with my clients, is that even though their picture is in the egg, people around them will feel the energy of the egg and of the session simply because of proximity. It's almost like, even though their picture is the one that's in the egg, it's like the egg locates them, and then the energy kind of just shows up at the house or wherever and people in the house, animals in the house can feel this. I had one woman, I used to do her dog. She would hold the dog in her lap and lay on the bed during the sessions, right? And she would always call me after the sessions. She'd be like, Charles, I feel like I need to pay you twice because I felt every bit of that session, and I'm holding the dog. I know the dog could feel it. She said, I'm feeling her picture's not even in the egg. The dog's picture's in the egg. But since she's holding the dog, she's feeling everything about that session. She can feel it. It's like the egg shows up there, and I have several clients that this happens to. I have one client, she just lost a dog. She had 2 big pit bulls and a cat. And they went on vacation, and the dog passed in the doggy daycare. So she only came back home. The cat stayed home. So she only came back home with 1 dog. And the cat's used to both of the pit bulls being there. So the cat was a little off. It knew something was wrong. She was grieving. The cat was obviously grieving. And I'm doing a session for her. Her picture's in the egg. As soon as I put her in the egg, the cat runs in her bedroom and jumps on the bed with her. And she took a picture of this. So I'm going to see if I can get permission from her to edit this into the video, the actual screenshot of what she sent me. She's like, this cat's in the bed. The cat's been kind of avoiding her all day. The cat jumps in the bed as soon as I put her in the egg. I haven't even closed it yet. And so after the session, she takes another picture. The cat's completely knocked out. I mean, she can't even move the cat in order to get out of the bed. She has to move around the cat to get out of the bed. She sent me a photo of that too. I'll see if I could edit this and get permission from her so you can see that. But that's just the opposite. It's like her picture's in the egg, but yet the cat is getting the benefit of it. So the cat was obviously grieving. She was grieving. That session was for her to put her in a state of rest and digest. Ended up putting the cat in the state of rest and digest as well. It's like the egg shows up. And I can't explain that one with science. I don't hold the tools to explain that one yet. That one is just beyond me, but it happens. I have a woman that so with remote sessions, we don't get to do the biowell, and I'll get back to that story. But with the remote sessions, we don't get to use the biowell. There is some people experimenting with doing biowell remotely, adding some other software to it to do some quantum entanglement. I've seen some people rave about it. I'm going to try it myself. Actually, I'm going to take a little class to see how that works and if that's something I can actually incorporate into my services. But in the time being, I've been doing this for some of my clients. I actually do Reiki. I've been doing Reiki for years, but I've only did it for my friends and family. It's nothing that I ever offered as a service. It's people who know, they'll ask me. I'll do remote Reiki. I have a friend in the UK. I do remote Reiki on her dog, right? So she trusts me to do that. And what I do is I draw like this little gingerbread man, and I put the chakras on there, and I take my pendulum and I go over each chakra, and it can show me it'll tell me if that chakra's blocked, if it's spinning the wrong way, it's spinning too fast. So I can use that information to actually help decide what sound and color we use in the egg. And I've done this with some of my clients for free, just as a demo. And it's worked out pretty well, So I'm thinking of offering that as an option for when you do a remote session. I'll do like a little short chakra reading with my pendulum remotely to see what you look like energetically, because we can't use the biowell. But even without the biowell, I'm really pretty good at tapping into my clients intuitively to see what they need. I have some clients, we have a discussion before the remote session to figure out what they need at the time. I have some clients that'll say, you tell me. And I tap into them and I tell them what I think, and that's what we do, And I don't know how I could do that, but I do that a lot, actually. But I also have a client that actually can communicate with Seva, which is the harmonic egg, that consciousness of the egg. I have several clients who can do this, but I have one remote client that when I call her during her session, she always does them like 8 in the morning, right? A lot of people like to do their remote sessions early. And I ask her, I say, well, what did Seva say you need to work on today? And she's like, I've been talking to Seva all week. And she says, I need to do this again. And she's like, am I crazy? Am I the only one that talks to this egg? I'm like, no, you're not. Actually, a whole lot of people do. You're not the only one. You're not crazy. And that's something I can't even do. But some people can tap into the consciousness of the egg. And it's telling them, okay, you need to work on this. So she tells me what she needs to work on because she said the egg told her. And that's actually not as unusual as you may think in doing this. That egg, that shape brings in a consciousness, and some people can communicate with it. In fact, they feel it on their way here. If they're coming for a remote session, they can feel it. That's something I really can't explain with science. I don't think we're there yet with science that can explain that, but it is a phenomenon that happens and makes it easy for me. I didn't have to think about it. She tells me what to do, and I just say, okay, that's what we're going to work on. So the remote sessions are really getting more and more popular. A lot of folks are seeing the power in that, and that they don't really have to leave their home. They could do it in the comfort of their own home. Some people, there's just so much going on at home, so much going on around. They just rather travel, deal with the traffic. That's actually the easier for them to actually travel than to stay at home and be distracted by things at home. But if you have a house that you can have some place where you can go to and be in some sort of solace and feel safe and secure, that seems to be the way people are going, even if they can't do the BioWell sessions. But some people, they love the BioWell sessions because it creates a running history of your energetic signature. And they'd rather have that. And in order to have that, they have to come and do in-person sessions. And that's why they choose the in-person sessions over the remote sessions. So I hope that helped explain the remote sessions, why some people choose it, why you might want to choose it if you try a harmonic egg. I just had a person come in, she was traveling. That's another reason. They'll come, they're in town, they'll travel. Then when they go back home, they'll do remote sessions from there. And that's exactly what this woman did. She came in, she did an in-person session with her daughter. She loved it. She flew back out to, I think she's in Colorado, actually. She flew back out to Colorado and she bought a package for remote sessions to do the rest remote from there. Because I think in Colorado, she's like 2 hours away from the nearest harmonic egg there. And so she bought remote sessions and she does them remotely now from Colorado. So that's another scenario where people will choose the remote sessions over the in-person sessions. So that's it. This is a short one, maybe about 20 minutes or so today. And that's kind of where I'm trying to keep these. I've been going over like into 30 minutes and stuff like that. I'm trying to keep them in the 20, 25-minute range. All right. So I will see you all next week sharp. So like I always say, you're unstoppable. No one can stop you, but you don't dim your light for anyone. The world needs your light. Don't dim your light for anyone, and love yourself.